Throughout most of Vulcan's history, the culture was matriarchal. The clan's matriarchs oversaw facets of life. The women were the political leaders, teachers, administrators, and religious leaders. The women arranged marriages and controlled the number of children being born. Marriages were arranged to form alliances between clans for access to resources and to ensure diversity of bloodlines. An example: one daughter of a particular clan was born with translucent third eyelid that filtered out dirt and bright light, allowing soldiers and clans to travel during the day. This was referred to as the Eye. Suitable males were offered to the daughter's clan so that they would produce children with this same mutation. Eventually, all Vulcans were born with the Eye, as they desired trait spread throughout the entire population. More males were born than females. Because of the limited number of females, there was often a bonding challenge, and males fought for the right to mate. By fighting to the death, only the strong and cunning lived to have children. Survival of the fittest at its most serious. This was the beginning of genetic planning. Male Vulcans did rise to very high positions of authority, but this was rare. The males were usually the hunters, laborers, priests, and soldiers. Young males that showed any high intelligence, though, were always separated from normal males and given special education. These Vulcan males became scientists, inventors, as well as philosophers and poets. One myth is that the Vulcans discard all emotion. This is not true. The emotions remain under tight control. The key is controlling one's external display of these emotions. The time of the awakening was a period in Vulcan history when the violent and warlike Vulcan race switched to more peaceful ways. It occurred sometime during the 4th century of the Earth calendar years, although some Vulcans had already begun to mentally train themselves to suppress their emotions 3,000 years prior. The change was brought on by a Vulcan named Katric, who preached a philosophy of logic to control emotions, as well as total pacifism. He was effective in spreading his teachings across Vulcan. The essence of Katric's teaching is in arriving at the truth through logical process. Emotion is illogical, thus making those thoughts impure and deterrent to the truth. He was quoted in saying, "The solution is simply stated, to keep our passions in check so that they will not cause entropy. Use logic so that you will know what causes entropy and how to stop it." You may say, that is not simple. Indeed, the trip we must all take as a civilized people is not a simple one, but it will be a fulfilling one. As in all revolutions, groups of Vulcans rose up against Katric's changes. These dissidents lacked the rigorous mental disciplines developed by the followers of Katric. Most rebellious Vulcans gave up the unrestrained violence as a way of life. However, instead of logic, these dissidents sought to replace it with a controlled deviousness as a species, with a duplicitous and secretive nature as its main tenet. A war ensued, and Vulcan was about to, quote, tear itself apart using weapons like atomic bombs and the Stone of Gaul. Shortly before the battle against those who marched beneath the Raptor's wings, Katric died due to radiation exposure at Mount Salea. His katra, as well as his writings, were preserved in a Katric Ark. In the end, the war came to a conclusion, and a sizable group of Vulcans eventually left the planet, becoming the ancestors of the De Bruyne and Romulans. Despite his passing and against all odds, Katric succeeded in saving the Vulcan race from its path of self-destruction and forever changed Vulcan society. Vulcans continued to war over exact interpretations from the teachings of Katric. This resulted in a cycle of violence, with one faction trying to suppress another faction, only to find that it was impossible to do. This cycle of violence was eventually broken by the embrace of non-violence almost 1,500 years after Katric's death. This concludes the next installment of our Vulcan Schism series. We will round this particular story arc off with a third and final video where we talk about the slow evolution of Vulcans as we currently know them in Star Trek and Romulans as we currently know them in Star Trek, and seeing how at the end of their evolutionary cycle and maturity of their species, how different and also how alike the two races are. I appreciate you guys and gals checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please throw a like and subscribe up on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski, and follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/RealKetwolski, and I will see all of you guys and gals next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!